Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. As colder weather approaches, farmers face at least two challenges. One is keeping livestock comfortable. The other is meeting the state's water quality regulations. At a recent workshop in Waitsfield, farmers got to see firsthand how to tackle both challenges at the same time. Across the Fence's Rebecca Gollin explains.
It's about 120 foot per head.
Joshua Faulkner is sharing something new with Vermonters.
And today we're inviting farmers, service providers, just curious local folks. There's some folks from the watershed group here today, and we just really want to show off the practice and let folks kind of poke around.
Faulkner is the Farming and Climate Change Program Coordinator at UVM Extension's Center for Sustainable Agriculture. The big idea he's showing off is a new way to manage cattle during Vermont's long winters.
It's essentially a barnyard that's made out of wood chips.
It's a little more complicated, but the gist of it is that farmers use a thick layer of wood chips instead of the gravel or concrete that are the norm in heavy use areas. When farmer Doug Kenyon was looking for options, he teamed up with Faulkner and UVM Extension to try something different. That turned out to be Vermont's first wood chip pad.
I was apprehensive at first, quite a bit, but we need to do something to start complying with the regulations that are coming down.
Faulkner first worked with this type of system in West Virginia and thought it would be a good fit for some Vermont operations. Having this one here in Waitsfield, adjacent to the Mad River, has given him the chance to do the water quality testing and environmental monitoring that will determine if the model is viable for others. So far, he's been impressed with the results.
It's pretty innovative. This is only the third one of these that's been built in the United States, so it's pretty new. It's a different way of thinking about barnyards. It's a different way of thinking about wintertime cattle management. So it's new. It can be used in beef systems. It can be used in dairy systems.
Beverly McMullen came to see this setup in action. She's interested in whether this approach could work on horse farms.
I thought that perhaps there would be some application for horse farming of this system that has been designed and built here at Kenyon's farm to alleviate mud and in high traffic areas, particularly in the spring, on horse farms, because that has been a problem in the past.
McMullen thinks the practice has potential, and as a member of the Vermont Horse Council, as well as the Vermont Farm Bureau, she plans to share the information with her networks. Across the Fence's Keith Silva caught up with Faulkner and Kenyon shortly after the wood pad was installed in 2016.
We want to see how these perform in these really cold winters that we have here in Vermont. So we're still learning, but by all accounts, it's 5 degrees today, and things look like they're working really well. So we're optimistic.
The cows are standing on about 12 inches of wood chips. Below that is a layer of drainage stone and piping that flows out to a nearby drainage pond. When the animals go back on pasture in the spring, the top 3 inches of wood chips will get scraped off, composted, and used as fertilizer on Kenyon's fields. Another environmental benefit is how well wood chips handle water.
When you think about concrete, most of the rainfall that falls on the concrete with the manure runs off. You got to deal with that water. You have to handle that water in a responsible way. When it rains on the wood chip pads, those wood chips soak up a lot of that water, and then they re-evaporate it, and they kind of act like a sponge. I've done some research on a couple of pads, and we've seen a reduction in runoff of about 50%. So that's 50% less dirty water that you have to deal with. And I think that's a real advantage when you think about the infrastructure you need, whether it's a holding pond or some sort of treatment system, pumping and spreading, of how much money, time, and labor you have to put into dealing with that dirty water. And of course, less dirty water you have, the less risk you have of potentially polluting.
Kenyon's decision to install a wood chip pad aligns with the Vermont Agency of Agriculture's new required agricultural practices to limit runoff and improve water quality.
We all are going to have to come into compliance with runoff into the water systems, and This is supposed to help mitigate that, and hopefully it does. It's a step in the right direction. I like the idea of this system better than the alternative that I was offered.
Now that it's been close to a year, Kenyon has more to say.
The cows are more comfortable. I don't have to lock them in a tight area, which I won't do, and they were comfortable all winter. It worked. I'm impressed with it. I really am. And if we can do another one someday for the brood cows, I would do that too. It just makes a lot of sense. A lot less labor, a lot less mess, a lot less everything.
The quality of the water really shows how well we're taking care of the land, and we really care about taking care of the land so that we can see that we're doing a good job in the water.
As executive director of the Friends of the Mad River, Corey Miller is keeping an eye on how things are going here.
Doug's trying something new, and it's exciting, and it seems to be a win for the animals and for the environment at the same time, and that's exciting. And I think it's something to see how it goes, and if it's possible that other farmers might be interested, that could be really neat.
Miller is looking forward to getting more information on the long-term and economic implications of using the system.
Economically, I'd be interested to know how much it's going to cost, and if it's something that's sustainable over time, or if it's too much of a burden to the farmers. I'm intrigued by the long-term maintenance costs, and if it's worth, if the additional costs are worth the reduced labor, it could be an exciting thing.
Another economic boost could be for Vermont's timber industry in producing the wood chips. That possibility brought UVM Extension's Chris Lindgren, who focuses on forest product businesses.
Mainly curious about the application of using wood chips, which is a forest product, and wider use of wood chips.
Lindgren, too, is reserving judgment until the data is in.
Well, right now I'm really thinking about costs on both sides. You know, how it could help loggers or businesses selling wood chips. Could it help them keep their businesses, grow their businesses? And then the cost, is it the right cost that people are going to adopt the practice so that it'll be widely utilized? And then what are the sort of maintenance costs? And then the maintenance, again, on the selling side, how much maintenance do they need of wood chips as far as, again, another market for loggers?
Faulkner hopes that by seeing these new practices in action, the farmers and industry representatives here will help spread the word. The wood chips aren't suitable for every operation, but Faulkner believes it could be just right for some.
I think this could work on a lot of farms in Vermont. You're always constrained with some engineering practices by the site. You know, if there's shallow bedrock or high water tables, things like that. I mean, there are going to be those situations. But really, you know, I think it can work on a lot of farms, and especially some of our smaller farms and some of the medium-sized farms. I think it's a really good fit for that. It's a Vermont, I've said this before, it's a Vermont scale practice.
As for Doug Kenyon, he has some advice for farmers who are interested.
If they could put one together and it helps the environment like they're asking us to, then try to figure out how to do it and get an engineer to help you design it with the soil that's available and the amount of animals you want to keep. Look into it at least.
Bringing Vermont-sized solutions to Vermont businesses and helping farmers think outside the box. In Waitsfield, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
Thanks, Rebecca. Our next segment takes us to an animal science class at the University of Vermont. For students, it might be the only class they'll take where "the dog ate my homework" is a valid excuse. Let's rejoin Rebecca Gollin, who found a class that's gone to the dogs.
Many college students will tell you that when learning a new language, it can be very helpful to practice with a native speaker.
Hi. Oops. What's your name, buddy?
That's just what this class at UVM is doing. Except that in this classroom, the native speakers have 4 legs and are covered in fur.
You can't just expect a dog to sit when you tell them to sit. It's like speaking in a foreign language.
The class is called Understanding and Speaking Dog. Students are learning how to communicate with dogs in order to train them.
Most people have opinions, thoughts, philosophies about dog training, and what I teach is science.
It's fun.
Good girl. So remember, don't say the word.
Jamie Shaw is a longtime dog trainer and adjunct instructor in the Department of Animal Science. She's teaching her students how to teach a dog to sit.
It's not necessarily they understand the word, like sit means to actually sit down. It's that they understand that's what you want from that sound. So it's more like they understand that you want that rather than, oh, that's what that means.
What we cover in the course is much of it is the exact same thing you would learn in a basic level psychology course. And it's about reinforcement and, you know, literally how does training work? How can you work with the brain to accept and process information? What's the best way to do that?
Shaw says that the key to success is to shape the dog's behavior in a series of small steps, with plenty of rewards along the way. She recommends coming up with goals and developing a step-by-step training plan. The way that plan is implemented is called operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning is a process where you choose a behavior that you would like a subject to know. So it could be with your roommate that you want to teach your roommate to pick up her dirty laundry instead of leaving it all over the house. Or it could be you want to teach your dog to sit when you ask it to sit instead of having it jump on visitors when they come to the house.
You can't just take a dog and put it in the position that you want it to be in. Like if you're teaching a sit, you can't just take it and physically put it into a sit and do that a bunch of times and expect it to learn it as well. So what shaping is successive approximation. You're taking little baby steps towards the behavior. So every time it like puts its butt down a little bit more, you reward that. And you use luring. You have like a treat and you put it into the position that you want by making it want to be in that position with the treat in your hand.
A double major in animal science and psychology, Katie Hayden is interested in dog training as a career. She's been practicing what she's learning at the local dog daycare where she works.
One of the things that I really have loved in like the past 6 months or so that I've been like working with dogs professionally is I really love just seeing the improvement that they make, and that is kind of what drives me on. And so it's not so much, I mean, it's a little surprising to see how much they can learn in such a short amount of time, but it's really, that's what I love to see, and that's what makes me love training dogs.
What you need to do to get a dog that doesn't know how to sit or stand or whatever to do it.
Jamie especially makes it look so easy. Her dogs are so well trained, so some of the ones that she brings in, no problem, will just sit on command, they'll just drop, lay down on the floor, and she makes it look so easy. And as we're learning tonight, it's a lot more difficult than it looks.
Shaw brings dogs to class throughout the semester in order to demonstrate certain habits and techniques. Most of the canine guest lecturers here this day are untrained rescue dogs from Random Rescue in Williamstown.
At first, I didn't realize how many steps you really have to do it. If you want them to do a harder step, you have to break it up into really, really small steps. If it's a complicated trick, how small the steps are in order to reach it, and how if they're not getting it, you have to change the whole plan, or if they are getting it, you don't want to do too much. You might get excited that they're getting it, you want to keep going, but you have to stop and just let them take a break and pick it up again, and just the repetition of it, doing the same trick over and over and over again until they master it.
Good boy. And I back up when I train this because it makes the dogs run a little bit faster to you, makes it more fun.
Teaching dogs some new tricks and learning some themselves, these UVM students are on their way to being fluent in the language of dog. In Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for joining us. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.